and welcome to the year-end, season 1 end of the Ball Card Show. What episode is this?
I think we're on episode 17. It's really hard to keep track consistently because, to be frank, we're a little bit sporadic. We'll go 3 weeks in a row with a show, and then we'll disappear for a couple of weeks, and our listeners go, well, that was fun. And then we show up again, and they're like, oh, those guys are still alive.
Yeah, we're still alive. Still kicking. Glad to be here. Ball Card Show. I'm Jason Otero.
I'm Gary LeMaster.
We're here as a part of the Press Play Podcast Network, and it's a football episode. I'm just going to say what it is.
Yeah, we're going to roll real hard into the NFL playoff picture, some predictions, some players that you might want to snag now, some guys you may want to just go easy on, even though other people might be pumping them up a little bit. Things to watch out for going into the favorite time of the year for all of us football fans.
Yeah. If I sound a little docile today, I'm hurting.
Yeah, you had a rough one last night.
I went a little hard in the paint.
Yeah.
Buddy's birthday.
Yep.
Had a few drinks. I can't do that as well. It's not as fun as it used to be.
It was fun for me.
Well, fun for you to watch, but
yeah, I enjoyed every minute of it.
I am hurting.
Yeah, your shoes haven't been off in like 24 hours, have they?
No, I mean, I woke up at 3:30 with my shoes on under the blankets like a serial killer.
Couldn't figure out how to
Couldn't
take them
figure
off.
out how to take them off,
went
so
right
I
back
just
to
rolled over and went back to sleep. Snapped both of my ankles, just like what is it, alligators that do the death roll? That's basically what my feet were.
Well, what was great was, so I show up, I'm late to the party last night because
It was a birthday party.
it was, and I had to work.
We
a
were
little bit
gentlemen.
late, and I was out in no man's land. So by the time I got home, got myself presentable, and headed back out, I roll in, and everybody else has already eaten, and everybody's already a little bit deep. And I look over, and here's Jason, looking like he lives in the Pacific Northwest. And
I don't
cuts
know
down
why
trees.
you're giving me a hard time about this. I was wearing.
Tell him what you were wearing.
It's like a Carhartt vest, but it was Wrangler because I got it at Walmart.
Yeah,
and then
it
a
was straight
Carhartt
up, like,
beanie.
puffy vest.
It wasn't. It was like
Carhartt
a Carhartt
beanie.
vest and a Champion long sleeve tee.
Yeah, he looked like he just like cut down trees in the Pacific Northwest for a living. So I started giving him a hard
That's
time
not the
for that.
worst. Yeah,
And by the time it was time to leave,
it was time to leave.
it was time to leave.
was
So,
time to leave.
yeah, we had a good time last night, but I'm a little more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed today than Jason is.
Yeah, but I'm here and I'm ready to talk. And I just did a little quick rip of you scored a bunch of Illusions Blasters NBA
I did.
licensed product. Not easy to get a hold of, but you just landed at the right time.
I did. I got, 17 or 18 of them.
Sold them to me at a premium, which I expect.
And by a premium, he means exactly what I paid for them.
Seems expensive to me, but
Yeah.
can't wait to leave you a bad Google review.
Retailers have decided to cut the middleman out and just price things at resale value.
I want to talk about my big hit and just get it out of the way,
Okay.
which you can roast me for.
Oh, so, okay. He's going to let me set this up, right?
here we go.
I get a text yesterday, and I'm in the middle of a job. I climb down off my ladder. My phone buzzes, and I try to be responsive because the guys I work with, especially this particular guy right here, will call me or text me and ask questions throughout the day. So I try to help out. And so I climb down off my ladder. I go over. I open my phone up, which I got the new Z Flip, by the way. So I have to open my phone up now. It's pretty cool. And I see a picture of a card, and I don't even know how to process what I'm looking at first.
It was a hit. It was a major hit.
It was a major hit, but it was NASCAR. It was NASCAR Prism. This dude was jonesing so hard.
Boogity boogity. Yeah.
He was jonesing so hard to rip something that he found a blaster of NASCAR Prism on a shelf and bought it. And then ripped it in his car without any penny sleeves or top loaders or anything. Now, he did hit a Danica Patrick auto numbered to 10.
Yeah, bro.
So it paid for the blaster.
I can't even find. There's not another comp on there for the to 10.
Yeah, I bet there's not. I don't think that the NASCAR
You
card
can't
community
tell me
is
that
running
there
deep.
aren't a bunch of like sicko obese guys down in Arkansas that are
You just
super
alienated
fans.
half of our listening base.
Oh yeah, half of our listening base is in Arkansas.
No, there are obese though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean,
I am
I'm
too.
obese.
Same.
I can't ever live in Arkansas. I'd weigh 700 pounds.
Oh, my man titties would be out of control.
So there's a lot of like creepy super Danica collectors. I guarantee it.
You're gonna try to find one?
I just need one, bro. So essentially, it was a slot machine
Yeah.
when I bought that blaster. But I hit a Danica to 10. It's real nice.
He was super excited about it, and my response to him was,
You really bought
"You
racing
really
cards?
bought racing cards? Wow."
Well, it was
I don't really
like
know what to say,
Formula One's really hot right now.
which is not the
But
same
I went,
thing.
I went NASCAR.
That's like going, soccer is really hot right now. So I went ahead and I bought
Rugby cards.
rugby cards.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
So, but I'm telling you, Panini's going to have to pick a lane, and I think racing is probably, the Formula One thing could be good. Soccer's going to be good.
They haven't done any Formula One. I think Topps has that license.
Oh, well, that's going to be Topps, and then NASCAR's going to be Panini, and then Fanatics gets everything else.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was happy with it. I also bought some Update Series baseball, which they had, what was the insert?
The big heads.
89?
Maybe I like the big head SSPs in those, but
Yeah.
man, they're so tough to pull. It's hard to justify buying retail.
Not worth it. Not worth it. Not worth it. All right, we're gonna jump right into it now. We want to talk playoff picture. We want to talk NFL. We want to talk players to watch, players to drop, players to get excited about. We want to talk about Tua's comeback. Tua is looking good. The Dolphins are looking great right now. Just don't. In the words of, is it Kendrick Lamar?
I'd like
Don't
you
kill
to
my
look
vibe.
look at the show notes and tell me if you see Dolphins anywhere in this playoff picture.
They're on the bubble.
Are they? I think they're like
I
the
think-
11th seed right now.
I think the Dolphins end up closer in the playoff picture than the Bills do. That's a bold statement.
Oh. Yeah, we'll agree to disagree on that one.
I mean, Flores as a coach in Miami, and I know we're not going to talk about Miami after this, but I have to get a few words in.
Okay, you do your thing.
He has an ability to go on a run consistently,
If he
almost
could-
every
if he
year.
could just do it at the beginning of the season.
That would be great.
Yeah.
But I mean, he always strings together these 5 to 7 game win streaks. You look back over the last few years, and everybody's like, Flores is a guy. The team's turning around, and then for the first 5 weeks of the next season, it's terrible.
Correct.
But Tua is second on completion percentage, right behind Kyler, who you love.
I do love Kyler.
He can't throw it more than 10 yards because he doesn't have protection more than a second. But those little 2-yard dumps, he's the guy. He's the guy.
Okay.
I just wish we had Landry still because I think they would complement each other so well because he can't throw it more than 10 yards, and Landry doesn't like to run more than 10 before he catches it.
That's probably fair.
That would have been
I
a
still
dynamic
stand.
duo.
I still stand by, mostly because I'm stubborn. But
I'm shocked to hear you say I still stand by anything.
by the fact that I don't think Tua is going to make any Pro Bowls. I don't think Tua is going to be anything resembling a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I think his peak is prime Andy Dalton. I think his basement is what we've seen already.
I think it's a little bit better than you do.
That's who
I
I
don't
think
think
he
he's a
is.
star,
No.
but I think he's going to be in the league longer than
Well,
people are expecting.
Andy Dalton's been in the league for 14 years.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying Tua won't be in the league forever. He's just not a star.
Okay. Anyway, enough about Tua. Let's move on.
Let's move on to one other guy that's not in the playoff picture because I love him, and I've loved him since he was a rookie, and that is my man, Uncle Rico, Gardner Minshew.
I love the guy.
All he does is produce. It's the only thing he does. You put him on the field, you let him start, and he's going to throw 3 touchdowns for every interception he throws. He's going to complete 65 to 70% of his passes. And yet everybody's like, no, we need
I
Trevor
want to know what
Lawrence.
the secret is. Somebody knows something about him that nobody else knows, and for whatever reason, nobody thinks he's a fit for a program.
Well, so here I think is what it boils down to. Jacksonville was so bad last year, and he was hurt. He played 4 or 5 weeks with a broken thumb on his throwing hand and didn't tell anybody, which pissed the coaching staff off. And so he kind of went out of fashion with that coaching staff. But then Jacksonville ends up with the number 1 pick, and everybody will laugh at them if they draft somebody other than Trevor Lawrence, which is why I said from the get-go they should have just traded the pick.
yeah.
And Trevor Lawrence has more around him than Gardner Minshew did, but somehow Gardner Minshew's rookie year was 18 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, starting 12 games.
How many touchdowns does Trevor Lawrence have? Like 3 or 4?
10, 9 or 10, something like
Yeah.
that. Hold on, I'll tell you.
It's bad.
It's like he has more interceptions than touchdowns for sure.
It's bad.
It's really bad, but I will tell you exactly what those numbers are because we looked it up earlier. I just have to find it. Here we go. Trevor Lawrence has 9 touchdowns and 10 interceptions in his first 12 NFL starts. Gardner with a 72.3 QBR, and he's gone 2-10. Gardner Minshew had a 90.1 QB rating. His passing yards were higher. He had 18 touchdowns to 4 picks, and he went 6-6 with a worse team around him than what Trevor Lawrence has. And Trevor Lawrence has a terrible team.
With Trevor Lawrence, I can't unsee that Jar Jar Banks meme where he like every time I see him, I'm looking at Jar Jar Banks. It's like with the helmet on, it's not all that, but when he does an interview or anything, you're like, that is Jar Jar Banks right there. So, all right, we got to move through these, or this is going to take forever. Okay. Let's do playoff picture.
Yep.
Let's run through what? AFC first?
Yeah, we'll do AFC first. So currently, what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about the seeds in order as they sit right now and anybody we think might fall out. And then we're going to talk about a player or two on each team that might be worth grabbing leading into the playoffs. You could see some bumps. So let's start in the AFC. As shocking as it is, after their 2-4 start to the season, the New England Patriots have won 7 straight games and currently hold the number 1 seed in the AFC.
Breaking news. Bill Belichick's pretty good at his job.
Yeah, he is. It was hilarious to me last year when everybody was like, oh, it was all Tom Brady.
Nah.
Tom Brady's an amazing football player, greatest quarterback of all time, but Belichick is also the greatest head coach of all time.
Coach, manager, CEO, president.
Yeah, he's just a beast.
Chief operations.
All-around beast.
All-around beast.
So 9-4 Patriots. They just won one of the ugliest football games I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that wind was crazy.
I felt so bad for the punters having to try to punt into that wind.
Yeah.
It was the craziest stuff I've ever seen. They were 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers. Mahomes is not there from a velocity standpoint.
Yeah.
Maybe Justin Herbert. There's 3 guys in the league that can throw the football into that wind.
Yeah.
That's it. So Mac Jones attempted 3 passes.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers was on the Pat McAfee show this week, and they were asking him what he would have done in that scenario. And, by the way, paint dries in a more interesting fashion than Aaron Rodgers talks in interviews, right? So it's just so – but he says really good stuff. It's just so slow and monotone. Like, he needs to, and I know he likes the entertainment side of things, he needs to read Audible books because I think people would listen if they want to go to sleep. All that to say, he said he would still try a few times each quarter to just throw that threat deep, even though you don't really have a shot.
Yeah, when the wind was at your back, you're overthrowing everything. Yeah. And when you're in your face, Josh Allen has probably the biggest arm in the NFL. So he was able to cut through that wind on passes that traveled 10, 12 yards in the air. Yeah. But other than that, even his stuff was sailing. So the Patriots won that game ugly, ran the ball all it was really impressive because the Bills knew they weren't going to try to throw the ball, and they still could not stop the run no matter what they did. So,
and Mac Jones' stock is going to keep going up because when that program finds a quarterback they like, they build around him and they make him successful. He's going to be very successful.
Yeah, so here's the players that we wrote down here for the Patriots you might want to eyeball. Mac Jones, now, listen, his stuff is already really high. If you are currently paying $1,000 or $1,200 for a Donruss rated rookie PSA 10, please put down the crack pipe.
Don't buy Mac Jones PSA right now.
No, buy raw.
Wait, because what's happened is some people are flipping because they were willing to drop $250 for some quick turnaround.
Yep.
But the market is going to be flooded with these, and it's going to plummet to a reasonable value.
It's going to be $150 or $200 card,
which it should be.
Yeah. So buy raw. Or grab the stuff that you might have already ripped. I was going through a bunch of stuff the other day, and I found probably 6 or 7 Mac Jones rated rookies raw. I've got a blue press proof as well. I've got probably 15 Chronicles draft short prints, which aren't big dollar cards, but shockingly enough, this late in the NFL season, those are still selling for $15 to $20 a piece raw.
I need to go through mine. I think I have some of that.
Which is crazy. The shiny ones especially. So Mac Jones, the other guy that I would really keep an eye on, because once you get into the playoffs, Bill Belichick does one thing, and he leans on his veterans. So while Damian Harris has been a little bit banged up and Ramondre Stevenson has looked good, I'm telling you, when it gets into crunch time, Damian Harris is going to get the bulk of those carries if he's healthy. Damian Harris has shown that he has the ability to really put some numbers up. If they get on a run in the playoffs and they decide to lean on the running game more than they do the passing game, Damian Harris is going to fly. Now, is his stuff going to go through the roof? No, but you can buy short print RPAs of Damian Harris for $20.
I mean, I've got probably half of his rainbow and optic rookie stuff.
And that stuff is going to go to, if they go on a run, get to the Super Bowl, and he has 200 yards in the Super Bowl, it's going to be an $80 or $100 card.
Yeah, so he's a good buy.
So those are the two guys I would say with the Pats. If you can buy Mac Jones raw, grab it. It's going to keep going up. Next, Tennessee Titans. They are in the number 2 seed. I don't think they will stay there.
No.
I think that they will end up being a wild card. I think the Colts are going to end up potentially winning that division. Tennessee is just banged up like crazy. The two guys on that squad that might be worth sneaking on, Ryan Tannehill stuff is still really cheap for a quarterback. I don't know that I'd go crazy, but if you can get some of his like really short printed stuff, numbered stuff, auto stuff, rookie stuff at a reasonable price, not a terrible buy. The other guy that's down right now, and I've got him on a buy list because he's going to be back, they think, by the end of the regular season or just into the playoffs, and that's Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, if he's healthy, is the best running back in the league. It's not even close.
He's not cheap, but he's a little cheaper than he was 3 months ago.
Yeah, he's 30%. He's 30% down. So that's somebody to look at with Tennessee. If he gets back, they could make some noise in the playoffs. The Baltimore Ravens are the 3rd seed right now. They are also in Injuryville, and Lamar Jackson looks like he has forgotten how to play football. They're winning some games.
He looks terrible.
Oh, it's awful. It's hard to watch. That being said, his stuff's dropped.
He's a freak of an athlete.
He is a freak of an athlete, and if he gets hot and they get on a run in the playoffs, it's going to spike again.
Yep. This is that if you're flipping, keep an eye on him. Buy him cheap.
Yep.
And then when he goes off for
Sell.
5 touchdowns, sell, because he's not going to do it every week.
Correct.
But you're going to see those spikes. He's just so entertaining.
Yeah.
I think there's just a value there. What's next? KC?
The other guy for Baltimore, Mark Andrews. He's a top 5 tight end in the league. He gets no love. His stuff is cheap.
Yep.
Buy it.
Yep.
Okay.
KC. They're heating up at the right time.
But it's
and
weird.
the offense is going to catch up.
Maybe.
I think so.
They have no running game.
I think they'll figure it out going into the playoffs. They're going to be good. Kansas City's going to be good.
Wouldn't shock me if they end up with the number 1 seed.
They could do it.
Mahomes stuff is down. Anytime Mahomes stuff is down, you should buy it. He's a GOAT. He's an all-timer. The other guy on that team whose stuff is ridiculously cheap, he's a top 5 tight end of all time, is Travis Kelce.
And he's going to get more and more targets going into the end of the year with that running game being weak.
Yep. Travis Kelce's a great short and long-term buy.
Yeah, you can get him at a reasonable price too.
Oh, his raw rookie cheap. Stuff is really
He's
cheap.
undervalued. Yeah.
5 seed right now, the Los Angeles Chargers, who beat my Bengals last week in a horrifying fashion for me. Herbert stuff is still really high, but if they get hot, it'll go up some more.
Are you bigger on him than you were going into the year? Because we just weren't sure that he had anything around him, and they've ended up winning a lot more games.
I just didn't think that he was going into the year. I didn't see what he could possibly do to increase his stuff in value, and what I said has played out. His stuff has stayed pretty level. It hasn't dropped, but it hasn't gone up.
The only thing that's off from what you were saying earlier this year is that the Chargers are a little better than we expected.
They are, but they're real Jekyll and Hyde. They started off hot, then they lost 3 or 4 in a row, and then they just won a couple.
They could string it together, though.
Keenan Allen is also still really cheap. He's a guy who, by the end of his career, is going to be at minimum a borderline Hall of Famer. He's already got 86 or 88 catches this year. I know he's a little dinged up, but his stuff is cheap, and he's a good buy going into the playoffs. Bengals are currently in the 6th seed. As a Bengals fan, this has happened sooner than I thought it would. I thought we'd be better this year. I didn't think we'd be as good as we are, but we're still perplexing.
Yeah.
Lose games we shouldn't lose and win games we shouldn't win. Joe Burrow's still a good buy.
He's so tough, man.
He is.
You get an injury on your throwing hand. So when they interview quarterbacks, they talk about injuries. that is one of the most disruptive injuries you can have.
Because everything you do hurts.
Every time you throw it hurts.
Every time the ball is snapped to you.
He's a tough kid.
Yeah.
He's got grit. I like Southern Ohio boy.
He's just got that factor. He's gonna be, unless he has a traumatic injury, he'll be the Bengals starting quarterback for the next 15 years. Oh. And his stuff is still 30 to 40% cheaper than Justin Herbert's, and I don't understand.
Ja'Marr Chase.
Ja'Marr Chase.
Here's my thing with him. When I see him play well, he's had a couple of not so great weeks, but he still has that Odell factor where he's going to do special things on the field. Yeah. He is going to make a play that people say wow about, and he's going to do that his whole career because that's just how aggressively he plays. Yep. But he's going to be streaky too. Remember, he's young. I still think he's a great buy.
I agree.
Him and my mind's slipping me up in Minnesota.
Oh, Justin Jefferson?
Yeah. When you're looking at receivers, I think there's some value there for sure.
For sure. Joe Mixon's still super undervalued. Personally, I'm not going to go out and buy a bunch of Joe Mixon stuff because for me personally, I just won't buy stuff from dudes who beat on women. But
that's a good rule to live by.
It is.
Yeah.
That being said, if you don't care about that stuff, then
you're a bad human.
He might be a decent flip going into the playoffs. And then T. Higgins is still super undervalued, in my opinion. He and Ja'Marr Chase are going to be a problem for years for that division.
Up in Buffalo.
The Bills are the 7 seed right now.
7 seed. If you would have told me 7 seed, I would have said, no way. They're way better than that. They are the Super Bowl threat going into this year. I really thought that.
I think everybody.
And it's kind of been like, when
they've had some problems. I
got that?
Yeah, you went Bozo the Clown there. I got it.
No, it's what game show is that? Price is Right. When you get it wrong.
They also stole that from Bozo the Clown show.
Did they?
Yeah.
Fun fact. My dad gets so much press on this show. But as a child, my grandmother worked at a studio where they made Flipper and what's it called? Gentle Ben, the bear show. But somehow Dad got on the Bozo the Clown show as a child, and they had a competition for a talking pictograph. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Where you would have the wheel and you would turn it, but it was a talking one. And the competition on TV was one-handed, who can pull the Kleenexes out of the box the fastest. My dad won.
So many jokes.
Bozo the Clown stiffed him. He never received the prize. He never got a talking pictograph.
Wow.
And the emotional damage alone.
Bozo it wrecked
Well,
him.
I just think there's got to be a case for small claims court for this.
I feel like you're really reaching there.
Or there's a talking pictograph somewhere down in this studio lot. It's got his name on it.
Yeah,
anyway,
probably.
Bozo the Clown's a jerk.
But the Bills are currently the 7th seed. I think they're better than that, but I do think they've had some issues defensively, which has been a little shocking. They're struggling to stop the run, even when they know it's coming. We talked about that a little bit earlier. That being said, Josh Allen's still a freaking monster, and his stuff is down a little bit. I think he's a great short and long-term buy. And Stephon Diggs' stuff is still reasonably affordable, and he's a top 10 receiver in the league on a team that has a big fan base. So that's the AFC playoff picture as it sits right now. I think that by the end of it all, the Colts might sneak in there ahead of Tennessee. But other than that, that's pretty much the AFC.
I gave my brother GMA that we were doing those with? They were the only ones that had the quick turnarounds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I gave my brother a GMA 10, so that is what it is, but it's Prism, Jonathan Taylor rookie, last year.
Yeah.
I kind of regret that a little bit.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor's a monster, and his stuff is still cheap. We were, I was listening. Shout out to other podcasts in the sports card world, Sports Card Nonsense. I was listening to Mikey Gio over there talking about Jonathan Taylor. His National Treasures of 99 true RPA can still be had for under $1,000.
That's crazy.
It's crazy because Justin Herbert's go for $40,000.
Running backs don't get 5 touchdowns in a game. And he did it.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Well, he's had like 4 or 5 games this year with 3+. Yeah, he's a monster.
And the Colts that's a team that can make a climb.
Carson Wentz is a good buy, too. I know everybody hates on Carson Wentz, but God, look at his numbers and look at how he leads that team.
Enough about him. NFC
time. Number 1 seed, Arizona Cardinals. Everybody that listens to this show knows what I'm about to say. by Kyler Murray.
Yeah, his completion percentage is just 2 percentage points higher than Tua's right now.
Yeah,
Fun fact.
what's the yards per attempt difference? Double?
I don't care yards per attempt.
I know you don't. I know that everybody.
Let's stay positive.
Okay.
All right.
Well, you brought Tua into this.
Hopkins is still a monster.
Yeah.
He's still cheap.
He's still cheap. I don't understand how Hopkins rookie stuff is as cheap as it is. It doesn't make an ounce of sense to
if
me.
they make a good run, I could see him riding off to the sunset here. And so you'll see a little bump with that.
Yeah,
but
he's got a year. I think he's probably got another. He'll probably play out this deal. He got too much money on the table to not play out the deal. But he's nearing the back end of his career. He's 8 or 9 years in now.
Green Bay.
Still a monster. So Kyler Hopkins. Green Bay, Rodgers, rookie stuff isn't cheap, but anytime you can buy a top 10 all-time quarterback rookie slab for a reasonable price, you should.
So he went out to L.A. for a second opinion on his toe this week, and there's a possibility of surgery. He's going to try to avoid that. I don't think he will have surgery because he'd miss the rest of the season, but the fracture in his toe is getting worse.
Well, yeah.
Because he's still playing football.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
If he ends up having to do that surgery and you are Aaron Rodgers collector and you like to find a bargain, as soon as that press happens, everybody that's new to the hobby is going to start dumping and freaking out, just like what happened when we were talking about Patrick Mahomes stuff.
Yeah.
Buy it up. Grab you. And this is when you talk about players that have that scope of a career, the longevity, buy raw.
Yeah.
It's safe to buy raw there.
All-time
Obviously,
top 10 quarterback.
Yeah. I still have to send off one of the bazooka rookies of his. It's in really good shape. I think it'll 9.
Yeah.
But I've seen more off-center stuff get a 10. But I got to send that one off.
Yeah, we're sending off. The other guy for Green Bay that's coming on really strong, his stuff's still cheap. I've got 2 or 3 of his autos. A.J. Dillon is starting to look like a beast.
Yep.
And they're starting to really timeshare that backfield more to keep Aaron Jones healthy. Aaron Jones is a faster back and a better receiving back. But good God, A.J. Dillon destroys people.
Yep.
Like, he's not as fast as Derrick Henry, but the way he runs through people is very Derrick Henry-esque. Let's move on because Jason keeps looking at me with daggers like we're going too slow here. So, Tampa Bay.
I'm in pain.
Has the number 3 seed. Currently, and Tom Brady is the favorite to win yet another MVP. Wouldn't be shocking if they just continue to march through and he wins another Super Bowl.
He's not looking like he did at the start, but at the start it was like, is he going to have 900 touchdowns this year?
Yeah, I mean, he just had a 4-touchdown game, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. Gronk is a player. If you flip or sell, he's going to do something in the playoffs that will be special again.
Yeah.
There will be a matchup that Tom Brady loves, and Gronk's going to get a lot of touches going in that. Tom Brady leans on veterans.
And
hard
here's the thing with Gronkowski, guys. And we don't get to say this all the time about people. Quarterbacks, we say it more than others. We just talked about with Aaron Rodgers. Rob Gronkowski.
What's that?
Rob Gronkowski.
Gronk, yep.
Is arguably the greatest tight end to ever play the game. And the argument is starting to lean more and more to him the longer he plays.
Like, he left the game, went to sell some CBDs, and he's like, you know what, this game still needs.
Did some professional wrestling, and he came back 2 years later and is still a monster.
Yeah.
So, considering that at a relatively high premium offensive position, not card collecting premium, but on the football field itself, we're talking about a player who is arguably the greatest to ever play the game. You should be buying his stuff for long term.
Just think for a second when you have one team that has produced multiple GOATs. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absurd. And in that same time frame, in that same era, I mean, you look at those dynasty teams, like you look at the Cowboys in the early 90s. Of course, the star of the show for them was their offensive line. Everybody weighed 500 pounds and were just moving the sled all day long for Emmitt Smith. And Aikman had 9 hours to throw a pass.
Yeah.
But you look at those, you're like, there were some great players there. Yeah. There, you look at it, you're like, I don't know if there's a GOAT there anywhere. Receiving core, You have it?
Well, Michael Irvin wasn't a GOAT. Michael Irvin's not even a top 20 all-time receiver. He's a great player.
Yeah.
But you think about how many receivers have played the game over the years. Michael Irvin's not a top 20 guy. He's good. He's a Hall of Fame player, but he's not top 20. Okay. So
we're talking about Dallas now.
Tampa Bay. Now we're going to talk about Dallas. Dak Prescott stuff is pretty hot right now.
I don't like Dak.
I know you don't, but
Dak is whack.
He's got a lot of hobby love, and I think part of that is because there's Cowboys have such a huge fan base.
Sell it now before they fizzle out in the playoffs. They'll choke. It's what they do.
If you're looking to flip, that's true. I personally look at Dak as a long-term hold, but here's the guy that I think is a flip candidate for the Cowboys. Quick question: who's the best running back on the Cowboys roster right now? Here's a second.
Did you say who's the best blocker?
Who's the best running back on the Cowboys roster right now? And here's a hint. It's not Ezekiel Elliott.
But what he can do on the line to block.
No,
that's why he's getting them. He doesn't. I agree with you 100%.
Tony Pollard is the best running back on that team right now.
It hurts me. I wanted Zeke to be more than what we've seen. He's good.
Well, Zeke's problem is the same thing that a lot of running backs deal with. He's just got too many miles. On the legs, and there's no burst left. And you see it; it's so obvious in game. They'll run the same play 2 series back to back, and the hole is the exact same. And Zeke has 4 yards, and Pollard has 14.
Yep.
It's just the way that it is. So I think that Tony Pollard is a guy that you can get his 2019 rookie stuff really cheap. And as the team gets into the playoffs, I think he's going to have more and more big splash plays, and it's going to become more. And when the game's actually like we lose and we're gone, Mike McCarthy's going to be like, yeah, I don't care who you are. We need to win this game. And Tony Pollard's going to get a lot of those carries. So don't be afraid to jump onto the Tony Pollard bandwagon for 2 reasons. 1, that could happen. And 2, this is the end of his rookie deal. He's going to start somewhere next year. So there's that. Rams. Weird one. Stafford's peaked. Don't go buy Matt Stafford stuff. You're overpaying. I need to send
mine off for grading, though.
Yeah, if you've got raw stuff
it was looking
around,
better earlier this year.
Well, he still doesn't look bad. It's just that the team's a little banged up. Robert Woods getting hurt was a huge blow. Everybody's like, oh, OBJ will walk in. OBJ is awful. He runs he's doing the same thing there that he did in Cleveland. He just runs whatever the route he wants to run.
I'm so proud of him because he made a play and built a career off of it.
Oh, his one-handed catch. Yeah.
I'm serious. Like, that X factor of, like, we need a guy that can make a big play. He's milked that.
Well, for sure. But if your quarterback doesn't know where you're going to be, he can't throw you the ball.
I thought the first time I realized that he was struggling a little bit was whenever Landry and him were playing together, and Cleveland was getting all this hype because they won a game.
Yeah.
Hadn't done that in a while. And then you start watching Landry emerge as a way better receiver.
Yeah.
Consistently better. In Miami, Tua would have loved him because of those little 2-yard, 3-yard passes. That was Landry's game where you kind of basically running a screen or something similiar to that, and he's getting more yards than the running back.
Catch,
but he's better than Odell. And, I agree. He's a bust there.
So the 2 guys for the Rams, kind of weird ones. A little off the wall. Don't talk about defensive players very much, even though I still think in the next 5 years we're going to see more and more hobby love for guys that aren't quarterbacks. Jalen Ramsey is a monster, and his rookie stuff is still cheap. Cooper Kupp, also a monster. His rookie stuff is still cheap. You can go buy his on-card contenders autos for $30. Rookie stuff for $30. That's affordable for anybody. And if he goes out, the Rams make a run in the playoffs, he has a 180-yard game with 3 touchdowns, that stuff will triple. 2 games left to talk about here. Number 6 seed currently, get your minds ready to be blown if you haven't been paying attention. The Fighting Washington Football Teamers are in the playoffs if the season ended today.
Yeah.
They've won some games. Taylor Heineke is not a stud, but he's not bad, and he's fun to watch. He's kind of got a little bit of an it thing going on. His teammates love him, and his stuff's cheap.
Yep.
They get a little push and run.
Fans love this guy because
did you
when
see what happened to his
in,
stuff last year? Spiked, and then it fell.
Yeah.
But that potential was there.
Yeah.
You can get his stuff cheap. Antonio Gibson, really good running back. People don't realize he's 5th in the league in rushing right now. He catches a lot of passes. He scores touchdowns. Rookie stuff is not stupid cheap, but it's not expensive. And then the most underrated receiver in the NFL, and it's not even close, Terry McLaurin.
Scary Terry, man.
Buy his rookie stuff, guys.
He's so talented.
Absolute. If he played anywhere with a top 5 or 6 quarterback,
like Miami,
He'd be.
I'm just saying,
he'd be one of the
statistically, that's
best
where we are.
receivers in the league. You're locked in on one statistic right now.
I'm just saying. If he runs the route and that route's less than 10 yards, Tua's the guy.
Okay. So don't be afraid to go
That
grab
was
some
so
Terry McLaurin
dismissive,
stuff.
and I'm offended. But go ahead.
It was dismissive. You're 100% right. And the last team on the playoff list, as it sits right now, is the San Francisco 49ers. The Vikings are on the bubble. The Niners don't have a ton happening that you should be excited about hobby-wise. I don't think Garoppolo is a terrible buy. His stuff is so cheap, and you can buy his slab stuff cheap. Anytime you can buy a starting quarterback in the NFL slabs PSA 10 stuff for less than $40, and they're a playoff potential team, you should buy those because the risk is super low and the reward is super high.
The Niners are boring to watch this year for me.
Yep, they are. But
I just haven't
they're
enjoyed.
starting to get healthy,
any of their games.
and they're winning games. But you know who's exciting to watch on the Niners? And that's the other guy we wanted to talk to you about, Deebo Samuel.
Yep.
Deebo Samuel is running the ball out of the backfield. He is catching passes. He is scoring touchdowns. He's thrown a touchdown this year. His rookie patch auto stuff, numbered stuff, is, I don't want to say crazy affordable, but it isn't expensive. You can buy his stuff raw for less than $100. If you want to get into some of the not as popular brands, you can get his limited RPAs for. I've got a limited RPA number to 25 that I think I paid $30 for. So there's a lot of stuff out there that you can grab. And again, all it takes is for a team to get hot in the playoffs and stuff can spike.
Yeah.
So that's our NFL playoff picture and the 90% of our episode for today. We do want to do a red paper clip update.
Yeah, we do. Let's do an
where,
update.
where are you at right now, Jason?
So
what have you
I
done
started
so far?
with the SGC 10 Zion Donruss rookie.
Yep. About $100 value.
It was.
Yeah.
No bites yet. Nobody's reached out to me and asked if I'm interested in trading that card.
Have you reached out and tried to trade with
I
people?
tried on one Facebook page, but
So
our
no.
buddy, I think, was a little drunk that night. He was asking if anybody wanted to trade, and then we got crickets. So I'm just poisoned. I'm waiting for the right moment. Zion has gained about 40 pounds since I bought that card. I'm a little concerned.
What's the value on?
I think
your
he's
stuff
like
right
around
now?
$50.
Yeah, so you've gone from 100 to 50, so you're down $50
Yeah.
in this process. So I am. So I've made 2 trades so far. I traded that CeeDee Lamb Optic Green for a PSA 8 Dan Marino rookie. Went up about $30 to $40 on that trade. And then last week I traded that for a Tom Brady, a 2002 Topps Chrome Tom Brady short print insert, and owned the game insert in an SGC 9.5.
Those are cool inserts.
Which is running around 180 right now.
Yeah.
So I'm up about 80% and you're down about 50%.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're just at the halfway point now. I've got 2 more quarters left. I think Zion's going to go off,
On McDonald's or on a basketball court?
both. And I think I'm a little bit screwed. And there's got to be a listener out there that just wants to give me a sympathy trade at this point. I just need something to get me back to $100. I just need, I'm going to be honest, I need you to take a $50 hit on the chance that Zion's going to be well and do well. But we don't really need to get that much in the red paper clip project because it's not that important.
So anyhow, guys, as always, thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. We appreciate all of you. This is the end of season 1. You will not see an update hit your podcast platform until probably the middle of January when we start with episode 1 of season 2. It's been a blast hanging out with you guys, and we appreciate the interaction that you guys give us. When we come back in the new season, we're really excited to start bringing some guests in, and liven up the podcast with some information about new companies, new products, things that are out there that are going to be of interest to you guys. Hopefully we'll have some giveaways and some things to do on that front as well. Jason, you got anything you want to throw into that pot?
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to say is be sure to check out, in the absence of our episodes over the next few weeks, the Press Play Podcast Network has several sport-focused shows. So take a listen in there. A lot of good football stuff, basketball stuff. If you're a Cleveland area fan, there's some super Cleveland podcasts there. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we'll be back. I expect to have my first trade done before season 2 starts. That's my goal.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
You will have to put some effort in on your end.
Have happy holidays. Thanks for listening in.
Peace.
Bye.